Hi, I'm Heather Damon with Fort Wayne Vegans and Vegetarians Group and the Veg Academy. Welcome to the very first edition of Vegan Fort Wayne. And to celebrate Earth Day, which is this coming Wednesday, we're going to talk with Megan Masterson, who is the owner of Ground Down, a vegan-owned business and an earth-friendly business. So she's going to talk to us today about composting, the benefits of composting, and the Earth Week challenge that they have going on starting today. Welcome, Megan.
I seriously appreciate you so much. Thank you for posting this morning. Thank you for suggesting that we even talk. Like, seriously, thank you.
Well, so you don't know this.
Yeah.
I just decided this 10 minutes ago as I was getting set up, and I sat down and I was just kind of waiting, and I thought, oh, I should probably do an intro to this video. And out of my mouth came on our first edition of Vegan Fort Wayne. So this is going to be a new thing that we're going to be doing.
I love it.
Vegan Fort Wayne, that we'll be posting on YouTube and probably our blog and everywhere, and promoting local vegan friendly businesses and vegan owned businesses.
That's awesome.
So you are our first guest.
Yay!
And with Earth Day on Wednesday, I think is just so perfect. And with your Earth Week challenge that we'll talk about a little bit later, I think it's so perfect to have you as our very first guest.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm happy to be your first guest. This is so exciting.
Tell us, what is Ground Down?
Ground Down is a food scrap pickup and local composting company in Fort Wayne. And we have been around since the start of the year. I officially kicked things off in October of 2019, but then actually started taking subscribers this year. So Ground Down picks up food scraps from residential and commercial locations. And then we create compost as well from the food scraps.
Wonderful. That is awesome. So why did you decide to start Ground Down?
I moved here most recently from New York City, and I've lived here for over 4 years now, so it's kind of a lifetime ago. But when I moved here, I noticed one thing in Fort Wayne that we were a little bit lacking on is sustainable forward businesses and ways for me to get more involved with food waste and with recycling. So here I noticed that there wasn't really any composting operations outside of just my home. And when I moved southwest, which is where I live now, my husband and I moved onto an acre of land. And here we have our own at-home composting bin. I started talking about composting with some of my friends, and they were like, that sounds so cool, but I absolutely don't want to do it myself. And I thought to myself, you know, in New York, there were these companies that picked up food scraps. And I think that that would be something really valuable to have in Fort Wayne, to allow people to connect with their waste in a positive way, not to feel yucky, like when you roll your garbage can out to the curb and it's really smelly, but to actually feel positive about the impact that you're doing, not just when you're eating your food, but after your food as well.
Wonderful. And I see you have a friend behind you. Yeah. So let's talk about that for 1 second, because I am wearing my Weekends Are for Cuddling Dogs shirt. So we do need to talk about your dog for just a second. Who do we have?
This is Cole. So he is an Australian cattle dog. He's just over a year. And we actually decided to name him my maiden name. And I ended up deciding that I wanted to take my husband's last name. And I made that decision because we adopted Cole from the Animal Care and Control. And it just seemed like it fit. So he is officially Cole. He is my maiden name. And say hi.
Yeah. Hi, Cole. Back to it. Thank you for introducing us to Cole.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Always have to take a dog break. So tell me a little bit about how Ground Down works. Like, if I were to sign up, how does that work?
For residents, what I do is I have a 7-gallon bucket, and it's about a foot long and then 6 inches wide, just roughly. The actual dimensions are on my website. And it's flat. It's a flat bin with a sealable lid. That was something that was really important to me, to have the ability to lock things in so that people can feel like the process is really clean. And if you sign up with me, I provide a bin, and then you choose what frequency you would want your food scraps picked up, how frequently. So either weekly, every other week, or monthly. And then based on that, the price changes. And I pick up the food scraps at that time interval. And when I pick them up, I give you a free, a fresh, clean bucket to replace it with. And then For you personally, you get a report back on the weight of your food scraps over the course of 3 months. And then once it's been a little while of time with me, you'll be able to get a compost reward back. So you'll get some compost back from your food scraps.
Oh, wonderful. So then that's great for people like we have our own home garden. So then we were able to use that for our garden. Yay.
Yeah.
So one of the questions my husband asked me today when we were talking about this, because we had our own home composter before and we got really lazy with going out and having to turn it constantly. And also, he did not like opening it because it smelled really bad and he has a weak stomach. So he was like, well, what is that going to smell like? And where do we keep it? Do we keep it in the house? Do we keep it outside? So can you answer some of those questions for me? I guess for him.
I absolutely can. So I have some people that keep their bin inside, some people that keep it outside. The reason I did the sealable bins is because it does start to smell after a little while. Your food is going to be starting to break down and decay in the bucket. One of the things that happens when you're actually doing the composting process is I mix in brown material. So those are things like dried leaves, wood chips, cardboard, and I mix in a lot of that stuff. So when I'm making the compost itself, it eliminates the smell, the odor. But when you're at your home, if you've got a lot of food scraps in there, and the smell is bothering you, one thing you can do to kind of cut that smell, so this is more if you're thinking of doing the monthly option, you can start to add in browns yourself. So it's not going to be composting yourself, but if you add some of the browns in, what will happen is it'll soak up some of the aroma, if you will, and some of the decay from the vegetables, and it won't be quite as smelly.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, because that was kind of one of his main concerns is he said, I'm not going to do it. You're going to have to do all of it. Which is fine.
So at my house as well, just because I do the pickup service, we don't actually have a bin ourselves, but I have a tumbler that we use for just our personal use right now. I kind of keep it separate from the composting from my customers. And what I do is I keep a bowl on my counter and I put my scraps in there. And then I take that out to our composting probably every 2 or 3 days. So it doesn't get super smelly. One thing I'm very cognizant of is that we drink a lot of coffee. And with the coffee, we use a Chemex. So I'm doing like water pour overs, but whatever coffee you're doing, we take coffee grounds and the filters. One thing that you can do to save yourself some smells is to actually let your coffee grounds dry out in your sink, the filter and the coffee. Just lay it in your sink. It'll get a little bit dry and then put it in there. That'll reduce some of the moisture and eliminate some smells as well.
Okay, wonderful. So what types of things can people compost and maybe not compost?
So the things that I accept are any sort of food scraps from vegetables and fruits. Things that I also take are greasy pizza boxes. Those are things that you actually can't recycle because of the grease. And then in lieu of people throwing those away, the cardboard actually acts as a really good material for the compost. Some other things that I take that are kind of crazy are dog hair. I have a whole list actually on my website. And when you sign up with me, you get your own list called Compost This, Not That. It's a cheat sheet and it tells you what you can compost and what you can't compost. Things that I do not compost are meat and dairy, any sort of dairy like cheese, eggs. And I don't take compostable plastics. There's a lot of discrepancy in the composting community right now on what actually happens to the compostable plastics when they break down. So I'm not taking those just yet. I'm trying to keep a cleaner product. But the compostable papers, I do take those as well. Again, it's all listed on a little cheat sheet. There's kind of a lot that you can compost. It's surprising. Once you start composting, one thing that's really cool is you'll notice that the amount of times you need to take your garbage out will start to go down just because you can compost so many different things.
That's awesome. And so let's talk about what are the benefits, especially, to the earth of composting?
So one thing that compost does is it takes the carbon from the materials as they're breaking down and it puts them back into the ground. So one of the things that people talk about a lot with landfills is that carbon is escaping into the air, carbon emissions. And one thing that compost does is it captures the carbon from the things as they're decaying and it puts it back into the ground. So that's like one super positive thing. But with that, what happens if you garden, if you even just have a lawn, so I've been looking a lot into lawn care recently as well, is the carbon that you're putting back into the soil, it actually protects the roots. So there's the carbon that you're putting in comes from these little tiny microscopic organisms, and they protect the roots of different plants, which increase plant growth, improve healthy plants, and then they also improve, so your lawn, for example, it's just a plant, grass, so it'll help your lawn be prettier too. Yeah, so a couple of, those are kind of the main two benefits I like to think of. So the benefits to the soil and then the carbon trapping as well.
And then another benefit would be keeping all of that out of the landfill, especially the pizza boxes. We don't order pizza very often, but 800 Degrees has vegan pizza Sundays, and they have wonderful vegan pizzas any day of the week. And I always just hate when we do carry out, throwing that box in the trash. You can't recycle it, as you mentioned. So being able to, I didn't realize that you could compost that. So that's, I think, a big plus.
I get really excited when I see 800 Degrees pizza boxes in my customers' boxes. Like when I dump them, I'm like, yay, you went to 800. Like, I get really excited.
That's awesome. So great. Yeah. And anytime, you can keep items out of the landfill. I don't know how long a pizza box lasts in a landfill. I imagine for a while. But so if you can keep that out of there, wonderful, along with the rest of the trash and anything else you're throwing away, that is great. So Earth Day is Wednesday.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we're all stuck in our homes and we can't have the Earth Day celebrations that we usually have here in Fort Wayne. So you came up with an Earth Week challenge. Tell us a little bit about that. And I did mine today.
You did, I saw.
Did you?
Yeah, Earth Day is something that's really important to me. It's important because it's a time where we get to really just appreciate everything that the earth does for us. And it might be stuff that we don't think about every day. I know I have a hard time thinking every day. I try to do some gratitude stuff every day, but a lot of times I'm like, I'm grateful for my dogs and my husband, but I forget no, I'm like grateful that I have a planet to live on. Like I forget these little things. And it's not a little thing, but it's
a big thing.
It's a huge thing, but it's something that's so far away sometimes that it's hard to think about. So I decided to put together an Earth Week challenge. So there's 7 days, 7 virtual events for people to just do small little things to connect with the earth. So you mentioned you did today's, and I'm trying to make them really easy for people to just connect with the earth and then to post about it so that they can interact with other people that are also connected with the earth. The one for today was to walk outside barefoot. So there's a lot of different benefits out there that are talking about going outside barefoot, and I'm not going to get into those now, but there's a lot of different things out there with the earth that are so beneficial for ourselves. And this whole week of events, I have something planned to help us interact with each other, but also interact with the earth all week long.
That is awesome. And so today's challenge was to ground yourself by putting your feet in the grass. And I'm always barefoot anyway and love walking around in the grass. So today's challenge was super easy, and I got my dog involved in that.
That's the best part.
Today. And tomorrow I'm looking forward to as well. I love sharing my plant-based meal. So tomorrow is to have a plant-based meal, which we do every day. And so hopefully a lot more people will be doing plant-based meals with you tomorrow.
Yes. And some things I'm going to be doing as well for that. The plant-based meal, not everyone might be plant-based on their own diet. So I'm going to be posting just a couple of really simple meal ideas. And maybe I'll snag one from you to put on my blog as well, to share with people so that they can just have something quick to look at. The point of this is really to expose people to new things, but not to make people feel overwhelmed. That's totally not my goal.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, Megan. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. And if somebody wanted to get more information about Ground Down or to sign up for your composting services, how would they go about doing that?
You can check us out on Instagram and then also our website. So our website's going to be the #1 spot. If you happen to be on our Instagram page, the link for sign up is actually right in our bio. You can click right on it. It'll take you to our website and you can sign up there. Right now, I do pick up in all of Fort Wayne. and I pick up from both restaurants and from residents. So if you also have a small business restaurant, I know right now things might be a little bit limited with being open, but I do have a pickup that I do from restaurants. Right now I pick up from Conjure. They're still open. So I do Conjure Coffee and a couple of others. So check that out, my website, Instagram. I do have a Facebook page too. That's where the event for Earth Week is, and you can find that there.
All right. Awesome, Megan. Thank you so much for chatting with us on this, our very first edition of Vegan Fort Wayne.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you talking with us, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more things together in the future.
Yes, I would love it. Thank you,
Awesome.
Heather. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, you too. Thanks so much, Megan.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching, everyone. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos.